What's up, guys? Welcome back to Jimmy Talks. So, I've gotten several requests in my comments to make videos about propaganda and how they lie to you. So, this is what I've been cooking up for a little bit. I actually had made a video just like this about a month ago, and I just never posted it because I didn't think it was good enough. So, I went back and I redid this whole entire script just for you guys to more emphasize on the points. I made it much longer than what the original video is going to be, about 7 minutes long, not really that deep. So, we're going to get way more into it. I actually got rid of the other video because I didn't think it was good enough. I care about giving you guys some great content. So what I'm about to talk about isn't some conspiracy rant where I tell you to distrust everything and live off of the grid. I do tell you to be skeptical of everything, but you need to take all points into consideration here when you're reading media of any type. So just take it with a grain of salt and move on and read the next part. So moreover, this is about peeling back the layers of the onion, so to speak, trying to see what's really going on, figuring out how to spot the bullshit, yada yada. I'm going to be talking about money trails, big one. That's a big one, by the way. Remember that. Connections and the motives behind the stories that were all fed. So before I get into this too, let me clarify something. Not every single politician, news outlet, or influencer is corrupt. Believe it or not, there are some legit people out there trying to do the right thing. But let me just say they're rare as hell. Thomas Massey comes to mind here, and I honestly can't think of really anyone else. Not because I agree or disagree with them. I just literally can't think of other specifically politicians that are at least consistent and stick to their principles. Anyways, when an honest person in politics doesn't play the game, the propaganda game, like when they don't take money from groups to push a message, for example, they will get smeared and they will get blackballed. Not for being honest and true to themselves, but for some random policy, air quote, stance, or some old tweet that gets twisted to discredit them. It's subtle, it's dirty, it's all part of the game. But the sooner you realize politics isn't about policy and it's not about governance, it's about who's paying who to pass what, the more this whole mess starts to make sense. Let me say it again. Whoever is paying who to pass a law, that's really what politics is, all right? So this video isn't just about big TV networks like Fox or CNN. It's about information sources like your local paper and edgy podcasts, guys on Twitter, think tanks, and also individuals themselves with motives. You've got to be skeptical of everything, all right? Sometimes they're spot on. Sometimes the truth's buried between the lines, but most of the time they're just lying to you, or at least not telling you the full story. So how do you cut through it? My two rules are these. Follow the money and look at the connections. That's it 99% of the time. Whether it's a politician, a news anchor like Tucker Carlson, some think tank, trace the cash and see who that person or group is tied to. It takes work, but it's the only way to know who's full of shit. Now I'm going to break down this video into 5 sections. We're about to get into it, I promise. The government will be number 1. Number 2 will be politicians. Number 3 will be media outlets. Number 4 will be private organizations. And number 5 will be individuals. These are the main angles pushing propaganda and half-truths, and they're all linked by money and influence. And I'm not here to pick a side. Rather, I'm just laying out the facts so you can see the bigger picture. Even as a guy with right-wing belief system, I don't even trust half of the so-called conservatives out there. They're not really conservatives. And the term Republican is also dead to me, so just like Democrat. It's all fake. Anyways, first up, let's talk about the government. If you think they don't lie to you, you're in for a wake-up call. And I'm even surprised you're on this channel if you think that, but hey, the more the merrier, right? The government has been doing this for decades, pushing propaganda, I mean, and they're good at it. This is proven in history too, not just baseless claims, and Operation Mockingbird is a clear historical example. Back in the 1950s, the CIA took control of major media outlets. This was supposed to be a foreign country only operation, but it also happened right here in the U.S. They planted fake stories, they planted paid-off journalists, and pushed whatever narrative that would keep the public in line as well as benefit them. This is why boomers just trust the news, because they've just been brainwashed by this shit for fucking ages, right? So, and people took it. They bought it hook, line, and sinker because there was no internet back then to call it out like there is nowadays. The paper and the TV was all you had. Some guy saying this is all fake. He was the odd one out. He was the weird one. So, it just reminds me of, again, Facebook boomers. They're stuck to watching Fox or CNN, supporting the candidates they want to select in the official narrative, blah, blah, blah. They also fall for scam calls from India and like AI videos online. So, but yeah, Gen Z is the stupid ones. Right. Anyways, officially, the CIA said Operation Mockingbird is over. But come on, does anyone actually believe that? Let's look at Hollywood today. Movies and TV shows paint the CIA and the military as noble heroes saving the day. This is exactly what they did with Project Mockingbird. And movies and TV shows have government collusion to this day to push out official narratives, like Zero Dark 30 and the TV show Homeland. I did like the movie Zero Dark 30. It's pretty cool. But you got to realize there is CIA influence in here. They're influencing the script. They're telling you what to write. They're like, hey, make us look like we're in a good light here, you know? So, anyways, that's not just an entertaining show or a cool movie or something. It's subtle product propaganda. So, and it's shaped and formed to show federal agencies and the like in a positive manner. But it's not just about feel-good shit like movies and TV shows. The government covers up shit that doesn't fit their official narratives. The little movies, Hollywood stuff, that's all feel-good shit, like I just said. A big one that they covered up was the 2017 Las Vegas shooting, which is actually something I made a video on. They said it was one lone gunman, an old dude with no criminal history pulling off the deadliest mass shooting in U.S. history. Does that add up to you, or does that make sense at all? Damn, that's crazy. Now move along. Yeah, right. Check out my video on that one for more information. The rabbit hole goes deep. Then there's also MK Ultra, the CIA's mind control program that they denied for years until the documents got leaked. We also have the JFK assassination, which they pinned on Lee Harvey Oswald, again, just a random lone gunman. But really, if you look deeper into it, it has ties to the mob, it has ties to Israel, it has actually a couple more ties. I honestly can't remember it off the top of my head. But Israel is implicated the most because JFK was tough on their nuclear program. That was a really big deal to them back then. I'd love to get into that more, but I'll save that for another video because this video is about explaining propaganda as a whole, not the JFK assassination, which requires a long video to explain all of it. Anyways, we've also got more recently the Epstein scandal. Why won't they release the client list? Because too many big names are on it. The FBI saying Epstein acted alone. Everybody knows it's bullshit. You know, like, sure, buddy. Okay. I somewhat recently made a video on that one too. So the government lies to protect itself, push agendas, and keep you clueless and wondering. It's not a conspiracy theory either. It's actual history. It's backed by documents. It's backed by whistleblowers. So follow the money, look at the connections, and you'll see why they do it. It's a big, big thing here. All right. So next, let's move on to politicians. Doesn't matter if they're your favorite or your most hated. They lie to you, okay? It's not a news outlet, but they also play into the propaganda machine deeper than you think. Sometimes they lie about stuff just to protect their ego. So sure, ego plays a part here as well. But the real motive most of the time is one simple word: money. It's always about who's funding their campaigns, who's giving them the money, and what they owe in return. Policy and governance, those are just buzzwords that they try to tell you. Maybe back in the day when the country first started, it was more like that, or even 1800s, early 1900s, but it's not like that anymore. So let's look at former President Lyndon B. Johnson and the Gulf of Tonkin incident. He lied about an attack to drag the U.S. into Vietnam. And why? Someone may ask, well, why? You know, well, war's profitable, and certain industries wanted that fight to happen. So military-industrial complex has been a thing for much longer than simply just GWAT, which is a global war on terror. Then there's the USS Liberty cover-up, which is the same guy, Lyndon B. Johnson, but a different situation. And it was tied to Israel's interests again. But we won't dive too deep on here specifically into that situation because, again, this is a propaganda video and how they do it, not the incidents themselves. So we can also see another lying politician's example with George Bush in Iraq, claiming Saddam had nuclear weapons with zero proof. It was really about oil, war, military-industrial complex profiting off of it, and also to benefit Israel. Clean Break Accords, 1996. Look it up. Anyways, for my examples of politicians lying, but rather on the ego side that I mentioned earlier, Bill Clinton lied about banging a White House intern. I did not have sexual relations with that woman. And Donald Trump is tied up in the Epstein files, among many other things. The point is, they all do it, right? But here's the trick. They don't usually outright lie. Not all. They do sometimes, but not most of the time. They're a little bit slicker than that. That's where they fucking get you messed up. They're slippery little fucking weasels, I'll tell you that much. They give you half-truths, they spin the story, and they build up this myth of their great new policy. Yeah, get fucked. Like Trump, when he said he'd do mass deportations, which I want to happen. He never did it, and the numbers are actually less than Obama. But the media spins this up into some insane story. Like, I wish it was that cool, dude, but it's not. And now he's granting them amnesty, and he's also going to be importing H-1Bs. So yeah, there's an example for you of a politician. He's like, oh, we're gonna mass deport people. Well, they're not mass. He is deporting people, but it's not a lot. And he's actually, bringing some 120,000 Indians in for H-1Bs. It's not even skilled jobs either. It's like a lot of entry-level positions. So really, it's just taking jobs away from Americans. Anyways, before I get off fucking track, that's your example. When their policy flops, what they do next is distract you with another news story. They'll point fingers. They'll change the subject. Or wait for the next guy who's elected to deal with it. I know when I said that right now, y'all were all thinking of fucking examples right there. Because it's true. And they also cover for each other. And when they say, we're all in this together, guys, for example, it's not about unity, but rather it's a subtle lie about protecting their asses. They'll bicker and argue on TV, but behind closed doors, we're all in this shit together. It's deals, it's fucking cutting deals and making favors. So follow the money. Check out sites like opensecrets.org. That's one that I use a lot. And you'll see who's bankrolling these politicians. And then suddenly, their policies and motives make a lot more damn sense. You following along now? I hope so. Let me say it again so the light bulb lights up in your head. Politics is not about policy anymore. It is about who pays who to do their bidding. More on this later, though. Anyways, let's move on. We're going to go on to the media itself. This is where it gets a little bit messy, and by that I mean it can be a little bit complicated. The big news outlets like Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, NBC, it's all boomer fuel, as I like to call it, or normie juice, or slop news. But it's not just them. Even smaller outlets like the Daily Wire or Democracy Now!, a right-wing publication and a left-wing publication, can play the game. I lean towards alternative media myself, but that doesn't mean they're a go. Some are still a major no-go, and you need to do some diligent searching on them. I prefer to read news from all outlets, no matter what their affiliation is. I just take it all with a grain of salt, make my own opinions, and then I move on from there. So, big media like the ones I mentioned earlier, the boomer feel, is not about the truth or the news or current events, really. It's about who owns them and who pays the bills. Let's look at Fox News real quick. It's ran by a guy named Rupert Murdoch. This guy is a hardcore Zionist with deep ties to Israel. He's butt buddies with Ariel Sharon and Benjamin Netanyahu. He stayed at Sharon's farm. He got helicopter tours, fancy-ass dinners. We're talking like, I don't know, let's just say some shit. $3,000 dinners a piece. It's probably how much this fancy shit costs. Rich people, man. Luxury accommodations. You got the silk sheets on the bed and all that shit. Why is that guy hanging out with the presidents of Israel, right? The guy who owns a media company, all that fancy shit. Anyways, a leaked 2010 document even listed him, Rupert Murdoch, as a key donor for Netanyahu's campaign. Plus, he got a 5.5% stake in Genie Energy, which is a company that drills oil in the Golan Heights, which Israel occupies. So when Fox News shows for Israel, it's not just journalism or whatever they like to call it. It's also Rupert Murdoch protecting his investments and his influence. Then there's MSNBC, owned by Comcast under Brian Roberts. Brian Roberts is an Israeli Jew, and his connections also are. His senior advisor, David Cohen, is also a big pro-Israel guy, himself being tied to the Philadelphia Jewish Federation, and he lobbies hard for Comcast mergers with other companies. Roberts himself is close with Obama and Ed Rendell, who called his Jewish commitment low profile but real. They said that themselves. MSNBC's pro-Israel slant. You know, does it surprise you now that the media pushes the narrative? Okay, and let me put this out there. This isn't a Jew-hating video. This is a noticing video. Okay. Anyways, it's not just geopolitics. Simply put, the media lies for clicks too, like sensationalism, kind of thing like that. Think of that paparazzi side quest in GTA 5. This is the next big story. Yeah, whatever. But yeah, governments and media outlets, they go together, man. They go together like white on rice. They've got their hands in it. Operation Mockingbird shows that the CIA can give media company mountains of federal cash to push a narrative, and it still happens today. We can see this with the USAID money, which is federal government money going to news outlets like Politico, the New York Times, the Associated Press, Reuters, and British Broadcasting Corporation. Those are all major news outlets. Why does the Fed need to give them money? They're making enough on their own. I spelled out the word for British Broadcasting Corporation because I didn't want to say the acronym, because some of you in the comments are like absolute gooners. Anyways, when the money and influence mix, you don't get the truth. Simply put, you just get propaganda. It's so fucking obvious, right? Dig into who owns what, and again, who's paying. And it's clear as day. Guys, I said it 3 times already. Politics is simply about who pays who. That's it. Now, let's get into private organizations. And typically, these are groups like think tanks. Basically, a think tank is like some gay group of bozos who try to push for policies that they think would benefit them. It's, I'm part of a think tank. Bro, shut up. I should slap you. Anyways, these groups push ideologies and policies, but they're not neutral. Right-wing ones like the Heritage Foundation take money from big oil and big pharma, and all it really does is push for unsafe deregulation and tax cuts that only benefit the CEO to further maximize their bottom line. Citizens be damned. And also, in before comments saying, well, Jimmy, I thought you liked deregulation. I do, but I've said so to an extent. I'm not all in on the idea, as too much of anything is bad for you. Anyways, left-wing think tanks like Center for American Progress gets funded by billionaires like George Soros. And he pushes for open borders, this whole climate change policy shit, and it benefits certain industries. Okay? Both sides are full of it when they're serving their donors. We also have the Koch brothers. They're billionaires who fund a lot of the right-wing think tanks like the Cato Institute and the Heritage Foundation. They're all about, we need deregulation and tax cuts, which I'm also kind of for, but it really just benefits the rich people the most, which, surprise, also benefits their oil and gas empire. You also cannot criticize Israel to the Heritage Foundation. Oi, Bay, did you just criticize Israel? That's very anti-Semitic. Anyways, on the flip side, the opposite end of the spectrum, you've got the Ford Foundation, and they throw money at left-wing groups like the ACLU and Planned Parenthood. They're all about my heckin' social justice and progressive causes. Oh my God, so epic. Gonna buy some Funko Pops now and totally own my parents and post about it on Reddit. Yeah, it aligns with their liberal agenda. These organizations aren't solely just think tanks, They're propaganda machines, and they push narratives that benefit their donors. It's not about truth. It's not about facts. It's about who has the money and what they want to influence. And it's wild how blatant it gets. I'm saying this stuff and you're like, well, Jimmy, that just seems way too obvious. That just people would have noticed that by now. They do notice, but it's so in your fucking face that you wouldn't even get it. It's called cognitive dissonance. But anyways, we also have the Walton Family Foundation, the owners of Walmart, who are nothing like Sam Walton, who started Walmart the good old-fashioned American way. He just wanted to sell products for as cheap as he could to Americans. Seriously, Sam Walton would be pissed at all of them nowadays. He was like the only good thing about Walmart. And when he died, his greedy family took over and they made it gross. But anyways, they will pump cash into like charter schools and education reforms, which seem good on paper, but really it's to get tax breaks. Lots of groups do this, by the way. While you and I, the regular man, we get graped by taxes. You can also take the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. They're pushing global health policies that conveniently boost big pharma buddies, all them motherfuckers. They've invested into it as well. So these groups don't care about you. They don't care about me. They don't care about policy. They don't care about philanthropy, which is donating a bunch of money basically to good causes. They're simply just playing chess. They're playing chess with society. It gets even shadier too. Foreign governments like the CCP, the Chinese government, have been caught funding U.S. think tanks to push pro-China narratives. Like, what? Why are we allowing this shit to happen? Israel does it too. Of course they do. To keep U.S. policy in their favor. These groups, again, they aren't analyzing policy that tries to help you. They're propagandizing for whoever's cutting the checks. I've said it once and I'll say it again. Follow the money and you'll see the strings. One might argue this. They'll be like, well, hey, this guy or this group said something that I agree with. And it's true. These groups aren't always like, I'm not just like, oh, I disagree with everything. I'm just way smarter than all of you. I don't trust anybody and I don't trust you and I don't trust you and we're not going to do anything at all because why. It's not like that. You can be aware of a group's influence and the power and the connections that they have and who they give money to. And they can still say things that you may agree with sometimes. That's a way to keep you in the blind. Okay? Very, very important to notice that. Let's say the Heritage Foundation is like, yeah, we need to mass deport all these illegal aliens. And I'm like, yeah, I'm in favor of that. But then they'll also say stuff like, hey, we need to send weapons to Israel and potentially start World War III. Okay, I'm not agreeing with that. They'll say things that are good, and then they'll also push some crazy shit on the side. Very important to remember that. You got to remember who is still controlled opposition, even if you agree with some of their points. Now, finally, let's touch up on individuals and their influence in propaganda. The ultra wealthy who buy influence. Let's take Miriam Adelson, the most recent biggest example. She's worth billions of dollars. And she used it to push her agenda, like hardcore Zionism. She dropped $100 million on Trump's 2024 campaign. And what'd she get? The U.S. Embassy moved to Jerusalem. Well, that wasn't that recently, actually. But the U.S. also bombed Iran for Israel. And they deported people and they had their citizenships revoked for criticizing Israel. Here in the United States, if you criticize Israel, your citizenship was revoked and you were sent back to your country? What, dude? It's a foreign country. Why does it matter if we insult them? We got another big individual that people like to mention because that's just a conspiracy theory. Yeah, whatever. We also have George Soros, liberal billionaire who's been funding the progressive movement for decades now, a long time. He's got his money and influence in like everything. Open borders, criminal justice reform, don't let cops do their jobs. Just let criminals get away with everything. And if you're a citizen, fuck you. And he's not shy about using his money to push his sinister agenda. Not everybody, but a lot of people are aware who that is. Then on the other side, you've got Sheldon Adelson. He's a big casino owner, put millions of dollars into conservative politicians like Trump and Netanyahu. He was all about protecting Israel's interests. And also, he was all about keeping the Republican Party in line with this thinking as well. Let's look at Jeff Bezos. He owns the Washington Post, and suddenly it's all about protecting Amazon's bottom line. Even Oprah. Yeah, the fucking Oprah. Like, come on. Everybody, oh, what do you mean, Oprah? Yeah, she's in on it too. She funds media projects that boost her brand, while not bad on itself to boost your brand. But she's saying, hey, we need to push for illegal immigration and giving them citizenship. Why? Why do we need to import 30 million people in the mass of 3-4 years? That's insane. Giving money to foundations who push for DEI quotas for black-only colleges. Like, it's just, like, what? How come you're not making it equal for everybody? If you can just get into college, that's it. If you meet the standard, you meet the standard. Anyways, money for Obama. She's pushing for radical, liberal, progressive policies, all while pretending it's just a feel-good charity. None of these people give a fuck about you. Actually, none of them. They're building empires, and they're ensuring their wealth remains. They're egomaniacs a lot of the time, to be honest with you. They don't give a damn about you, and they don't give a damn about the country. It's a club, and we're not in on it. Trace their donations, see who they back up, and it's all pretty damn obvious. It's super obvious. It's so blatant and in your face, it's kind of like a spit. It's kind of like getting slapped in the face. It's insane. So, there you go. That's about it. We're going to wrap it up. The media lies to you through a web of government propaganda, paid off politicians, owned media outlets, shady think tanks, and certain extremely wealthy individuals who have their own motives. It's not just a random coincidence either. It's a system. It's a big club, like I just said. It's driven by money and connections. To break it down easy again, guys, follow the money. Let me end the video by saying that not everyone's corrupt. Some people are legitimate, but they're usually the ones getting drowned out or they're like getting attacked. Just stay skeptical. Do your own research. See who's funding who. And don't let anyone try to spoon feed you the truth. I don't like to edit out the video, so when I mispronounce words, it's just me talking. I try to go at it in a like whole one unedited script. I'm still kind of new to this shit, guys. I started YouTube 5 months ago. I've somehow already got 20,000 subscribers. It's crazy. But anyways, don't let anyone spoon feed you the truth. I keep fucking that up. I even made a video on this before. Don't follow TikTok political trends. I'll post a picture of it and put a link to it. But yeah, even there, I tell you, like, don't just listen to what the news says. If you don't listen to what the news just says, that's how you're going to beat the game. Simple as. All right, guys. That's all for today. If you want to support my work, I've got my Bitcoin and Solana links in the description. I've also got Patreon, $5 a month. I'm not going to push it further than that. You know, I'll be broke and fucking dead, and I'll still be trying to make this country a better place. But your donations would help, okay? All right. Let's just keep it real here, okay? I got to pay my bills too. I work just like you. All right. So, all right, guys. That's all for today. Jimmy Talks out.